Hello. My name is Ariely, and I'm the James B. Duke Professor of Psychology and Behavioral Economics, and I specialize in how to get people to act in a different way. Behavioral change. Before we start, you might have noticed that I have half a beard, and you might have wondered why or what bet I lost. So I didn't lose any bet. Many years ago, I was badly burned, and most of my body is covered with scars, including this side of my face. So I just don't have hair on this. And I'm telling you this because I learned over the years that unless I resolve the half a beard issue early on, people keep on wondering, what's the point of that half a beard? So there's no point. It's just how the accident happened. Okay, so now that we've covered facial hair, we can talk about getting people to go to the movies. And the first challenge, of course, is that we are post-COVID. People had some kind of habits of when to go to the movies. We had this very dark period, and people adopted new habits, new ideas, new time with family, new ways of thinking about what entertainment is and how to consume it. Many people have improved their ability to entertain themselves at home. All kinds of things happened. And we are now at the question of how do we get another habit change. COVID created one habit change, but COVID had lots of forces. And now we want to create another habit change. What do we know about the conditions to create a habit change? Well, one of the things we know is that there are three periods of a habit change. There's the first trial, the first time to do something. Then there's the next period. Usually we think of it as 6 weeks, although with movies we might want to think about the number of times people go to a movie. And then there's the third period. So imagine, for example, that I used to take public transport and I stopped because of COVID. Now I need to think about the first time I'm going to take public transportation. That's going to be a real challenge. I'm anxious, I stopped using it, I have a new habit, I got used to waking up in a particular time, not to plan my day. So the first time is going to be really important. And we need to think about how we incentivize. How do we make it worthwhile for people? So I want you to think about the first time people go to the movies as a really important point that you need to create lots of incentives. We often think about incentives as financial, but they don't have to be financial. It could be a celebration. It could be something that basically said the first time to the movies is going to be an extra effort. You need to recognize it and you need to incentivize people so the first time is more special, more valuable, whatever. You can't let it just happen by itself. After the first time, then you want to worry. Usually in habits we think about 6 weeks, but this is not a daily habit. So you want to think about the next 3, 4, 6 times people go to the movies. And you say, okay, the first time is great, huge barrier, let's go over it. But then you need to get people to go again, once a month, every 2 weeks, whatever the cadence that you think is the right one, but you still need to work on that. If you just get people to come once, it will go away, not to the pre-COVID, not to the COVID level. The first time is going to be important, but it will settle down unless you worry about the next period. So then we have the second chunk of time. Now, we don't have to put as much emphasis on the second time as the first one. The first one is more difficult, but you still need to worry about it. So you need to worry a lot about the first time, worry medium level about the 3, 4, 6 next time. And then if you've done your job correctly, then the habit will take on for itself. So the first point I want to make is that we're talking about a habit change. And habit change is a real deal. It's really complex. Every habit is difficult to change. After 2 years of COVID, this is going to be a challenge, and you need to think about it from the perspective of habit change. By the way, it's also an opportunity to create a new habit. What does it mean, a new habit? You can create a trigger and tell to people, on the first of the month, plan your movie. Or you could say, when you get your salary, plan X, or when the moon is in full moon, plan something. And so you could do things to try and get a better habit going. It's an opportunity, why not? The second thing I want to point out is that the movies is an amazing emotional experience that is hard to compare to watching a movie at home. Very, very different. The sound, the intensity, the size of the screen, the fact that you can't check your phone when you're in the movies. At home, people, probably all of them check their phone, and as a consequence, they enjoy the movie much less. Being forced not to use your phone has a lot of advantage. People probably are much more into the movie. So you have two experiences. You have the watching movie at home, let's say it's a 5 on a 10-point scale, and you have watching a movie in a good movie theater, which is, let's say, call it a 10 on a 10-point scale. And it's because people pay attention, it's because the screen size, it's because no phone, it's because they sit next to their loved one, everybody pays attention, the darkness, the quality of the visual, everything is much better. So we have at home and in the movies. How long do you think that people remember that the movie was such a different emotional experience? Not that long, not that long. The fact is that for many things that are emotional, we don't have good memory for the intensity of the emotions. I have some memory of the pain I endured as a burn patient. Women have some memory of the pain they endured, the child labor, but in general, the intensity goes down. So I'm not saying that people think, oh, watching a movie in the theater is just like home, but the intensity of the emotion is going down. So what can we do with that? What can we do with it? We understand that the people come out of the movies, they are the adrenaline, the excitement. I mean, there's nothing like ending a movie in the movie theater compared to ending a movie at home. I mean, you just can't compare the two experiences, but so it's an amazing experience, but then the emotional intensity is going down. And then people say, oh, which one should I pick? It's a little bit like picking a cheap flight. When you're on a cheap flight, you say, oh, why did I do it? I'll never do it again. But when you're thinking about, what flight would I take? You say, the one with the 3 connection is $100 cheaper. Maybe I should do that. So the emotional intensity is going down. There are 2 ways to think about it. One, get people to make choices while they're on emotional high. So get the people at the movie theater to commit to the next time that they're there, right? It's as if you come out of a nice flight and you say, hey, you enjoyed the flight, direct and so on, why don't you book your next one? Right? So as people are within the emotional intensity, get them to commit. They don't have to buy exactly, they don't have to say which movie, but they can do the first steps to say, okay, I want to pay $1 now for a discount ticket, a $3 discount ticket for next month, right? So you do something that starts the process. I mean, if you can buy a ticket, that's even better, but you can imagine the movie ends, you have a QR code, you scan it, and then you could get to already book your next ticket. That is enjoying the high from that. But that's not the only approach. The second approach, which is something that you practice already, is called consumption vocabulary. So in consumption vocabulary, if you think about something like wine, we take wine, we swirl it, we look at the light, we talk about the tannin and complexity and acidity, and the language intensifies the experience. You could drink the best possible wine in front of your laptop and from a jar and you would not feel it. But you put it in a glass, you talk about complexity, acidity, tannins, the leg of the wine, you swirl it, you sip it in a careful way. And what that consumption vocabulary does is it basically accentuates different attributes. It directs attention and it gets us to remember things. Now, in the movies, you have something like this. In the beginning, there are many theaters that show this is THX, or this is the sound, and this is how it works, and so on. And you can get people to accentuate their experience. But I think there's a room for another step. There's another step. If you think that the emotional experience of the movies is fleeting, it goes down, people don't understand it, maybe there is a way to put an extra effort on the emotional side. Put the language on it. something that will help people remember. Okay, so we talked about two things. We talked about habits and how do you worry and work on the next stage of habits. Of course, there's much more to say on that. And the second part is once people go to the movies, we want them to somehow remember, appreciate the emotional intensity of that experience, so that when they make a decision, the emotional intensity is salient and it doesn't go down. And many more things to think about from behavioral change, but I hope that these thoughts give you at least a starting point for your discussion. I'm sure it will be productive and useful. From what I hear, it seems like you got an amazing group of people gathered to improve on this important topic. And I just want to say thank you.